Hello and welcome to Little Home in the Universe. I am Stephen Reese. Today we are going to make crème brûlée, one of my favorite desserts ever. I just love the way it crunches on the top. This is a very straightforward, simple recipe. We're not going to get all fiddly with different flavors, although I have seen all of them, from bacon to raspberries that you push in just ever so slightly right when the custard is setting. If you wanted to do a fun one, you could do this, which you can buy on my website. Hint, hint, right? This is a really delicious one to do. We're just going to do a standard vanilla. Again, we're doing everything just so that you can get a handle on what we're creating. Some key tips to keep in mind while we're making this. First and foremost, you want to start out with a good cream and good eggs. That is paramount because that's pretty much the whole dessert. And second, we really want to think about the vessel that we're using to make the brûlée in. If I wanted to make one large one, I would probably use this. This is good because it gives me that right custard to crunch ratio that we're looking for. So I have about an inch of custard and then I'll have a really nice thick crunch on top. I'm not going to use that because I can't eat all of that crème brûlée in one sitting. So I'm going to use these little lovely containers, but I'm only going to fill them up to about here. So I'm going to go down about ½ an inch to an inch, and that's where I'll fill them to. This comes into play when we think about how we're going to brûlée the top of our crème brûlée. So for these, if I was going to put it under the broiler, which I'm still going to try and do for you, it'll be hard for the heat to penetrate down and brûlée the top. I have a blowtorch, so I'll be blowtorching one. Again, we'll try one with the brûlée setting on the oven. What else? We have everything set up. You can see I have this set up so that it is a set for a little bain-marie, which is just, I'm going to put hot water in here so that it keeps my custard at a very perfect temperature. We will be looking for the jiggle. That is kind of the whole thing that we're going to learn today, is the right set jiggle to look for. So when we pull these out of the oven, we'll get that jiggle. It's about kind of like a little softer than the Jello jiggle. We'll pull this out of the oven because the latent heat will continue to cook our custard. So we want to hit that jiggle just right. So when we pull it out, they start to cool down. The latent heat, the carryover heat, pours back into a custard and sets it just perfectly. Then we will allow these to cool completely. That is also very important before we try and brûlée them. Ideally, at least 8 to 12 hours. I know, what? And also, I have some hot water already prepared for my bain-marie. So that can go aside. Anyhow, here's how I separate my eggs. Ready? I get messy with it. I just crack them. I crack this little top off, and I plop it right in my hand. And then I just allow the egg whites to drip down, and I put it over there. Everybody has their own preference. I will just wash my hands after I'm done doing this, right? Not for me. I can have a full tactile feel for what I'm doing. Here we go, one more, ready? Open it up, plop it in my hand, give a little jiggle, and plop it in there. I didn't have enough vanilla, so I used a splash of bourbon. You know that your cream is perfectly scalded because it will form a slight skin, and also, guess what? It'll be hot. Do not bring this to a boil. That is what we are looking for. You must add your sugar to your egg yolks first so that you can then temper your egg yolks with your milk. If you don't do this, you will run the risk of curdling your eggs. So do that part first. Just make sure that everything's mixed. Now I'm just adding my hot water to my bain-marie, and then I'm gonna portion this out into my ramekins. Could not be simpler. This will then all go into a 325-degree oven. 20 minutes later, you see that jiggle? That's too loose. 10 minutes later, you see that jiggle? Ooh, that's the jiggle we're looking for. The ones in the back were a little bit looser. You can kind of see the center, and here's another close-up version of that. So what I did, I just left them in the hot water for longer. And then they ended up like this, after about 4 or 5 minutes of out of the oven, just sitting in the hot water. The perfect ones had come out, and then we put everything into the fridge. Here is how I brûlée. I lay down a ton of sugar at first to let it soak up any moisture that is on top of my crème brûlée. I then dump it off, and then I place a fine layer by hand over the top. I do not add sugar as I am brûléing. As you will see in some videos, I think it's tacky. Once we have a fine layer, we will then begin to brûlée. I have an amazing torch. We are going to start from the exterior and work our way in. You see I have a slight shake in my hand, so I'm waking up the sugar, and then in circular motions, I am going to allow the sugar to brûler, and then I'm going to move along. I don't sit in one spot. I am continuously moving, continuously shaking. Again, we're working from the outside, and then if we had to, we would just whoop, do a little lip right into the middle of it. That's it. This is what the crème brûlée sounds like. I love crème brûlée so much. Here I put it into the broiler. Again, if we had used a shallower vessel, it would have brûlée much better. Because of the depth of the vessel, it kind of scorched and heated up my custard a little too quickly. Also, I left it in there for 3 minutes and kind of forgotten about it. Please always like and subscribe these videos. This is what it looks like, the finished perfect product. Always like and subscribe these videos, and leave in the comments what kind of flavors you come up with.